See what I did there? Welcome back to the Business of Becoming. It's me, Stephanie, your host, and I am actually going to talk about something that we're going to have a good time talking about this. We're going to be talking about how you're not lazy, you're just overwhelmed. I've had to reteach this to myself in the last couple months because it's been a long year and it's been a long couple months, and we're only in September. So today we're basically going to unpack why you feel stuck, and we're going to unpack how to get out of that laziness and get out of that overwhelming feeling and align you to action, because that's what's important. You need to move, and we're going to tell you exactly how you're going to move. The first thing we're going to talk about is that feeling of just being overwhelmed, okay? And I want to make it very clear. Being overwhelmed is not a flaw. It's just a signal. It's a signal that your body and that your mind is trying to tell you that you're at capacity, that this is basically prolonged stress now actually showing up in physical form to your body or to your mind, and it's just like causing an error, malfunction type of thing. A lot of the times it gets to that point because, we procrastinate and we don't review those emails, we don't, I don't know, do XYZ, but it's also just an overwhelming feeling that you're not there. Like, I don't know if that's happened to you guys, but it's definitely happened to me, where I pushed certain things like out of the way, or I've pushed certain things and procrastinated certain things because I wasn't ready yet, or I didn't feel like I was just there yet. Or there's times where we have this perfectionism mentality that we don't do things just yet because it's not the perfect time. So it's kind of a little bit of what I've talked about before in some of the other podcasts. But this is even more so pertaining to that overwhelming feeling, because that feeling just kind of like paralyzes you, right? And it forces you not to even make any other moves, and then you're kind of just stuck. You're stuck, and you're stuck in that fog, right? The first thing that you want to do is kind of identify those triggers of overwhelming. Like, what makes you feel overwhelmed? Is it, your assistant, because it could be, or is it your emails, or is it the to-do list that doesn't, finish? It just keeps going on and on and on. You want to identify what that looks like, okay? A great example that I can give you is hire an assistant. If you feel that overwhelming feeling that you feel like nothing's getting done, sometimes we just also need to hire somebody to just keep tabs on us, because so much gets away from us when we have so much to do and don't get anything done. So I would always say either one, hire an assistant, or two, if you have employees, learn to teach them the way you operate, right? Teach them your culture of what you would do in that situation, because that's a big part of leading. A big part of leading is being able to teach your team how to think like you, how to react like you in certain situations. So maybe instead of doing that to-do list right away, just try and do it as you're teaching your team, so that they can see how you respond and react to certain situations. So there's many times where I've felt extremely overwhelmed. And when you feel so overwhelmed, like I was mentioning, you kind of come to a point where you can't be productive. And there was a not too long ago, maybe a month or so out, where I found myself in that position again. I found myself extremely overwhelmed. Many of you guys know that I'm a single mom, and I made that decision about a year ago. And I feel like, this is me getting honest, right, with you. You make a decision, you go through some waves of emotion, you go through grief, you go through all these different things, and it looks super different to everybody. And then you think you're fine, and out of nowhere, it just hits you like, a ton of bricks. And I feel like a couple months ago, I found myself in that position again, and I just started getting very overwhelmed, even though, I've been through this process already for such a long time, and, I'm finding my footing, and I feel like things are going better. It hits you again. It's grief. You don't know when it's going to hit you. It just does, right? And divorce is basically a funeral for someone that doesn't die. And you're going through all these different things. And again, my mind was just so overwhelmed because not only have I been going through that process, I've been going through the process of raising my two children. I've been going through the process of, being in business and being, the superb, person and the leader and the triumph and all this other fun stuff. And also getting back to my social life. So there's just so many things that have been going on. And for whatever reason, that week I was just in a rut and I couldn't get out of it. And I just kept thinking about, my kids and how they were going to be raised from now, and how different it was going to look like for them than it was for me. And it just started hitting me. So what am I saying? I'm saying that I was extremely overwhelmed. And I remember that I couldn't do jack squat. So one day I was just like, I need to release this. And I was at that point where, there's some people, you guys pray or you guys do this or you guys work out. And I was doing all of that, but it wasn't working for me. I couldn't release the trauma, I guess, that my body was feeling. And I just remember I came in and I turned on the camera and I just said, I'm just going to record whether or not this ever gets out, which I don't think I will ever let it get out. But I needed to vent. And I wanted to vent without venting to someone. I wanted to vent and just verbally say the things that were going on in my head. And some of you guys need to actually take a chance and do it. Some people journal and that's amazing, but I just started talking and I started talking to the camera and I broke down and I was able to release this overwhelming stress of that my body was holding on to. My body was holding on to pain, to trauma, to stress with work-related things. It wasn't just my personal life. It was work-related things. It was staffing things. It was everything that was hitting us. And I just started talking and saying the things that were scaring the hell out of me, saying the things that I was grieving from and things that I was afraid of for my future, afraid of for my children. And there was a time where I couldn't even talk anymore. I actually just broke down and started crying. And after that, I felt so genuinely relieved that it was out there and I can move past it. So I just encourage you guys that if you can't find yourself to pray, because it happens to all of us, okay, or meditate or whatever, or you just can't meditate, just say it out loud. Give yourself a time to say this out loud, whether it's fears, whether it's things that you've been going through, whether it's some things that you've never shared anybody, but your body's holding on to that, and it's not allowing you to move past this certain moment in your life. I encourage you to do it. It was phenomenal for me. And that doesn't fix anything. The problems are still there. The things that we need to do are still there. But it allowed me to just pass that mental blockage and say, okay, I'm going forward now from here. I'm building from here. Another thing I wanted to talk about specifically is decision fatigue. And we all have a decision-making muscle. And if you use up that muscle on things that are so minor and need to say, irrelevant sometimes, it gets to the point where you get fatigued. You feel like you've done so much in such a little time that you just become drained and you start feeling that laziness, quote unquote, feeling, but it's really just you're overwhelmed with so many decisions and you've used all of that decision-making power on just some minor things that didn't really require so much of your attention or didn't really require you all the time. But some of us are just masochists and we are the worst people to ourselves. We don't help ourselves. And what I'm saying is, sometimes you have assistants, you have people that are there to help you, you have a team, and you don't use them. You want to be the one that has the final say on everything. You want to be the one that everybody runs all their ideas through, or everybody, has to get the final say from you. And I get it when you're starting small, but that goes back to what I was mentioning before. You have to teach your team how to think like you, because if not, you're making choices that it's using up your power. And I say it because it's a power. It's a super strength. You are the leader. So I don't choose what color highlighters we're going to get for the office. I let them choose it. I let my staff who does the ordering of the supplies, I let them choose what highlighters they want. I let them choose what, pens they want. Like, there's certain things that don't require so much of your attention, right? Just all these small decisions start to pile up and it drains you of your creativity. It drains you of the things that actually require you and only require you. It can't come from anybody else. So if you use that decision making muscle too much on irrelevant things, you're going to lose a lot of your creativity and you're going to miss out on really big picture things that require you, which therein makes you lazy because then you're just like, I'm gassed out at 9:30 in the morning because I've just answered a bunch of irrelevant questions. And you're lazy and then you're just stuck, which isn't healthy and it's not the way that you should be leading, or it's not the way someone should lead you. It's things that we got to change in ourselves, and I'm a culprit for that. I've been there and I've had to get out of it. I've learned to simplify certain routines. I've learned to use the staff that I have. And I've learned also recently too that I need to sit and retrain them again. I need to sit and go back and say, okay, let me do the simple things with them so that they remember what it's like to take some initiative, right? And encourage them to do so because it's important. I mean, look, I'm gonna be real. Like most of us here, some of you guys that are watching are parents, right? So my kid went through this like sleep regression. So he was waking up like every night at 3 in the morning just for the hell of it. And I had a couple weeks where I was waking up very, very much so like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I wasn't going back to sleep because my son wasn't going back to sleep. And or if he did go back to sleep, I was already like up. I can't go back to sleep. It's the worst thing about me. When I wake up, I can't go back to sleep. So there was one day that I was going and I had like a bunch of meetings starting like at 9 and this and that. And I was in my closet and out of nowhere, I'm staring at my closet and I'm staring at, and this is every girl, every time, but this was a real overwhelming feeling. I was staring at my closet and I blanked out. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what to wear. But like, really, I can't even make a decision. I can't even decide between jeans, slacks, shirts, shorts, anything. I blanked out. I didn't know what to wear. And I had my day planned out and I kind of had an idea of what I was going to wear, but I blanked out because I had made so many decisions from 5 something in the morning up until that 8 something. And I realized that I used up all my decision making power, that I couldn't even decide what I was going to wear. And this is a real thing. It's not me trying to be funny. Like, this happens to so many of us where we just get to that point where we just borderline almost want to just give up and just like, oh, whatever. It doesn't matter what I wear. Like, that's not the way that you should even start your day. And that's not the way or the approach that you want to start any of your meetings. So again, going back to the root, like there are some days that you're just going to have rough nights or whatnot, but don't use up so much of your decision-making power on things that don't require you all the time. And it brings me to my next point where we have what I believe, I know I had, an overstimulated nervous system. Why? Because I can just say personally as a mom, yes, I have a business to run. Yes, I have staff. Yes, I have 20, all these 20,000 people asking me for questions. But then I'm also thinking like, what are my kids going to eat for lunch? Or what are they going to eat for dinner? And what are they going to wear today? And do we have enough Pampers? Or do we have milk? Or did I forget to buy the milk? Or did I get the right, choice of yogurt that they like? Did I get this? Did I get that? It's just, I have so many things in my mind that at some point, again, you're just overwhelmed. You're overstimulating your nervous system. And that can cause a lot of issues, health-wise even, and also just projecting on people like in your workplace or your dreams, your visions, your goals. Like you just start hating things and you just start hating mornings. And don't get me wrong, I am not a morning person. I don't find myself in the 5 a.m. club just yet. You have so much that you're already doing, and your nervous system, sometimes it just goes into shock. And you have to understand these triggers. You have to understand the overwhelming feelings. You have to understand when you're getting decision fatigue. You have to be able to pinpoint what are these things in your life. Because once it attacks your nervous system, you're opening up yourself to a whole other world of issues that you can't have health wise, business wise, relationship wise. Your character just starts to become off. I feel like I'm a pretty happy person. But again, I'm talking to you guys out of my truth, right? And I know when this specific moment in my life, I knew it. I know when it happened. And I just started becoming a very bitter person. Like I would come to work and I would put my face on and I'd put like my rally and we're going to do this and this and that. And around certain people, I was genuinely happy in certain moments. But when I went back down to like my house or this, or when I was in my safe space, I was just down. And I want to say even like it's kind of a form of depression where you're just overstimulated and you're in the moment of different things because you can't, shut it down. And then the moment that you actually shut down, like your body just like, you just get down, discouraged, depressed. You get, to me at least, it's happened multiple times after big networking events or when I travel for work and I come back and my body actually wants to rest, I get sick. And it's not because I have germ bugs at home, which are my kids. Those are what I call them because kids that go to school, they're bringing back germs. It's not that. It's just when your body comes back from being overstimulated and your nervous system starts to feel like it's at a safe space, you end up getting hit with being either sick or that. This has happened to me. We have to understand the importance of taking these rests during your day. You have to understand these moments of practicing breathing, practicing, being grateful, because that regulates your nervous system. Practicing even just one or two accomplishments that day. My daughter and I, every day on our way to school, we do our gratitude list. And it's nothing crazy. It's just, hey, today, what are you grateful for, Heidi? And it's something simple. She could easily say the dog, but it's a mental thing for me to remind myself that things might be crazy today and every day, because that's the life of an entrepreneur. It is crazy. But you find moments where you have to regulate that feeling of like, oh my God, everything is just like, I can't breathe. And you got to find moments to be grateful. You got to find moments to just find the peace in chaos. Okay. I'm telling you, because I give you a perfect example. I'm there, I'm getting ready, and I'm getting ready to take Heidi to school. And obviously, again, this has been a crazy year for me. And my body was basically reacting and catching up to everything I was suppressing for such a while. And as I am putting on my clothes, I don't know what triggered it. I just remember that I just started panicking and I couldn't breathe. And I've never really experienced panic attacks, so I'm not a pro here. But I just remember I couldn't breathe and my hands got like just hot and my body just started sweating. And I had to literally lay down on the floor and just put my body on like cold tile because I could not breathe. And I freaked out. And I just remember that for a split moment, I just started crying, like heavy. And I'm not emotional because this episode makes me feel like I'm like a super emotional person. I'm not as emotional, but I just remember everything was starting to catch up to me. Many people suffer from panic attacks, and many people, they have, therapy, and people have, told them how that starts and what that does to you, and, how that's from stress and all these different things. But I do want to say that it's very important to get help. If you haven't, if you don't have a therapist, I do recommend you do so. It's definitely helped me, and this is not the route of this, podcast, but this is something that my nervous system just went into shock because I was so overstimulated in everything that was going on in my life. And you need to I wasn't doing the gratitude list. I wasn't doing all these different things. I wasn't praying. I was just riding it out. I was just working like a workhorse. I was just like saying that, well, working is what's going to help me get out of this rut. And working is what's going to help me, staying busy. It's what's going to help me make sure that I don't feel like I'm crazy, or it doesn't make me feel like I'm so overwhelmed. And that was such a lie that I said to myself, because being busy wasn't making me any better. Being busy wasn't making me any stronger. It wasn't healing me. It wasn't helping me be a better leader. It wasn't helping me not be overwhelmed. It was not helping me feel like I wasn't lazy. That was just in my mind. I was like, oh, well, I can't be lazy, so I got to do this and I got to do that. And that's such a false mentality to have, because trying to stay busy so that I didn't feel overwhelmed and I didn't feel like I had to face everything that I was going through put me in a place where I was literally lying on my closet floor, paralyzed, not being able to move, not being able to do anything. I wasn't able to be a mom at that moment. I wasn't able to be a boss at that moment. I wasn't able to do anything. I was just completely in shock. And my body was just reacting to everything that I've been abusing it to do, because that's what we do when we are overwhelmed or when we're lazy or whatever. We abuse our bodies, whether it's like we stress eat, or we do all these crazy things to ourselves. Like, it's our body reacts, and your nervous system just at some point is going to tell you, hey, like, help me. I love this saying that says you can't build a vision if your body is in survival mode. And that's what happens when you are stuck in this cycle of being overwhelmed, because your body starts to just react to things and you don't become proactive. You just stay as a person who just reacts to things. And with that, you're not able to build off of anything because you're just in survival mode. And then your character starts to have that trend, and then what you do starts to have that trend. So then your kids start to act that way, then your team starts to act that way. And I've noticed that be a pattern in my life that I had to break, because I don't want to be a reactive person. That yes, our job is to come out and put fires half the time out. Yeah, as a leader and as, the head of a company, more often than not, you're going to be called in for fires rather than good news, right? But when your body's in survival mode, your mindset's that way, and it just trickles down, and you become impatient. You just, it's not a fun place to be. And I was there myself, so I'm giving you my honest take. I'm not perfect. Definitely not beyond anything am I perfect. But you're not called as a leader to survive. You're called to help bring people out of that survival mode and actually enjoy the life that they're living and actually enjoy what they do. You're meant to enjoy the things that you enjoy, the fruits of your labor. You're meant to be a mom and be happy and live life with joy. And you can't do that if you're feeling like you're surviving all the time. I want to recap. You're not lazy. You're just overwhelmed. Okay? And let's rephrase ourselves a little bit, right? When you feel overwhelmed, it's not a bad thing. It's just a trigger. It's just something alarming you that says, "Hey, I know we're going this direction, but we got to slow down and narrow down, what we've got to do here." You got to understand your decision fatigue. You have to make sure that you make room to exercise that muscle correctly. And finally, you also have to just make sure that your nervous system doesn't go into shock, okay? That you don't overstimulate your nervous system by, you know, either just being a hard worker and you got to be stronger and you got to be, no, like sometimes you're beating yourself up so much that you're not giving yourself that time to rest and to really just refrain back and say, okay, let me look at things from the big picture, okay? Because right now, all I'm seeing is these lists of a million things I got to do. It's way okay to slow down before you speed up. If anything, it's healthier to slow down before you speed up, because then you know where to point towards. Because if not, you're just going super fast and you're going to end up being like those games and these car games, when you guys go to like the arcade and you're just like, you're always pressing the gas and you're taking turns and cars are like flipping over or you're hitting the side. And that's life. If you never let go of the gas, you're just going to crash into walls and you're going to flip over and you're going to go through a bunch of crap that you don't need to. Sometimes it's okay to let go of the gas, slow down a bit, look at things from a different perspective, talk to somebody about it, let it out in whatever way you see fit, and then start going again. Okay? And there's times for that. There's seasons for that in your life, for sure, that are important. So I encourage you guys to choose a micro action today. The way that I started was, number one, I went to therapy. And number two, my therapist actually had me do something that I found incredibly rewarding. And I would love to share it with you guys, which is they made me write a list of 50 things that I liked about myself. And I was like, 50? Like, Jesus. I don't know if I like myself that much. But I remember they made me write a list of 50 things. And it was so difficult to get to 50. And that was how much I just didn't see myself the way that maybe others saw me, or, the way that I should be seeing myself, right? Like I was always so pointed on, this is what I've got to do, this is how I got to do things, and that I didn't see myself in any other view. So I think it's important. It helped me so much when I wrote down these 50 things of, things that I liked about myself and characteristics that I liked about myself. And not to say that, it's going to give you a big head. And some of you are probably like, 50, that's not that bad. But for me, it was, because I was always thinking about somebody else. I was always thinking, and maybe you find yourself that way as a leader, you're always thinking about other people rather than yourself. And it's not because you're humble, it's because you're programmed to work, and working is really not about you half the time. It's always about who you're trying to help. It's always about, the client. It's always about, the ROI. It's always about something else other than you. So I thought it was great. It was super helpful. It helped me so much, and I'm sure that it will help you. If this episode resonated with you, number one, like and subscribe. And number two, send it to somebody who you think is in the trenches right now. Maybe they're dealing with juggling how to be a mom, how to work, or be a CEO, or start up a side hustle, or maybe they're going through a separation or a divorce. And again, I just want to make it really clear, I'm not a super supporter of divorce, okay? Just sometimes we find ourselves there because life happens, and this is what this podcast is all about. It's about life getting real and us trying to become better people and a better version of ourselves every single day. So I hope to see you guys on the next one. This episode was really fun to record, and I know it resonated with me while I was going through this, and I hope it resonates with you guys.
Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Tell us your stories.
Oh yeah, tell me your stories. I really am interested. I feel like I'm just talking to myself here sometimes. So share with me. I had a couple people DM me and tell me that they were going through a lot of different things, but just, write in the comments what you guys want to hear, the next topics that you guys want me to talk about, and how this episode, what it means to you. I would love to hear it. It'd be great.
See you on the next one.
I'll see you on the next one. Or like Michael Scott says, I'll see you on the flippity flip.